Hi everyone. Just when you thought you were done with summary lectures, you are! As I've mentioned, this is not a summary lecture, nothing you need to take notes on, nothing you need to have your book for or anything. If you want, you can print out the instructions for your assignments here. Actually, interesting. Well, okay, I only printed out the instructions, it looks like, for the campaign proposal, and that's fine. The video I have less to say about anyway. So, the whole purpose of this is just to kind of go over some of the highlights of making sure that you do everything properly for handing in your final proposal. And I'm not really going to say anything new. I'm not even going to say anything with as much detail as what's on your sheet right here. But I know that sometimes when I'm teaching an in-person class, a face-to-face class, it helps to just go over some of the highlights when there's an assignment with this much detail in it. The good news is, hopefully, and you know, I know I don't want to oversimplify it, or I certainly don't want to minimize any of the work that is going to need to go into this final proposal, but hopefully this won't be as daunting as some of the research projects you might have done for have been doing for other classes. If you've been doing a pretty good job of keeping up with your worksheets and keeping up with the feedback that you've been getting, certainly it's not as simple as just taking all of those worksheets and slapping them in a new document. I would never imply that, but hopefully, as you go through it, you'll see that you've been through all of these steps in some form or another. And at this point, it is going to be about going through all of the steps again, going back through the work that you've been doing throughout the semester, and then just putting it into a more formal document, just kind of solidifying everything. And as you go through that process, I hope actually that you might even find ways of fleshing certain things out to make better connections with, you know, other steps and so forth. So the goal is not to make something identical to your worksheets. As a matter of fact, and I've mentioned this in the document, and I've mentioned it in some announcements too. You know, a lot of the things that you've done on the worksheets have given you different matrices or outlines for things that you're going to do. I don't want this to be an outline. I would argue that even in the back of your book, there is a sample proposal that's close to what I'm looking for, but I am looking for something that is much more fleshed out, like a research paper would be. The sections that I'm looking for are in the top half of this, well, it's like the second page of your assignment sheet. I want you to flesh out all of these sections, and I want them to look like fleshed out paragraphs. I do say if you want to use bullet points occasionally, that's not a big deal, so long as they're supplementing the text. I don't want you to substitute bullet points when you should have a complete sentences, right, of your ideas. The reason for this is twofold. One is I am concerned that I wouldn't actually be able to understand everything in just bullet points. I need the context of you actually writing it into an argument. And that leads me into my second reason I want this, is because this is a proposal that I want to mimic, like the type of thing that you would turn in if you were trying to convince somebody to fund your campaign. I'm not asking you to address this to any particular person, but this is where, I mean, I've been talking, I mean, this is a communication campaigns class, of course, and particularly with the social marketing, right? The marketing is the campaign portion. But this is where I think that the communication element comes in again in a less direct way, because what I'm asking you to do is construct arguments for all of the steps that you've been doing along the way. So you decided on a target audience, right, using that matrix, the matrix that we had, where you compared this audience to that audience, and maybe some of you had different weights that you put on one audience over another, as far as how reachable they are, or maybe even in terms of how willing they would be to adopt a particular behavior. Whatever, you all had unique things. Now is your time to come in and communicate that to somebody else. They're not going to understand the matrices. I want you to be persuasive. On that note, though, I don't want you to just rely on your opinion for persuasion. This is also sort of like your final exam, where you show that you really understand the types of things that Lee and Cutler were trying to teach you in the textbook, right? So I want you to cite them. I want you to reference the book. I want you to say, as Lee and Cutler say, you know, when you have multiple audiences, right, it's best to focus on X aspect, or when you're dealing with this type of issue, you know, whatever. That's to bolster your credibility too, right? So this is another one of those dual objectives I have. One of them is I want you to sound good. I want your arguments to have weight behind them. And when you're quoting experts and when you're quoting the process, right? This is a social marketing process. It makes you look like you know what you're doing. But of course, the obvious benefit is it shows me that you know what you're doing, right? In this case, it shows me that you're able to apply the concepts from the book. So if you look at the rubric, which I didn't print out, but I do have a rubric that I'm going to be using to grade you for your final proposal, you'll see that I place the most emphasis, 50% of your grade for the proposal part of this is going to be based on how convincing your arguments are. And I don't want your arguments to start off with, I think. Because with all due respect, nobody cares what you think. People care what the experts think. People care what theory says, so you can cite theories. If you're talking about background on your problem, I don't want you to just rely on your common knowledge much, if at all. I would just stay away from it. I want you to have done some research, and I want you to be citing credible sources. So that's really important to me. That does not mean, I really want to emphasize this, that you need to do a whole lot of background research. It's possible that the only portion of your proposal that's going to have anything from outside of the book is when you're just talking about the nature of the problem with that research that you did at the very beginning of the semester. And that's fine. I don't see any need for you to go out and do any additional work, any additional labor to bring in sources unless you want to. I really think that you can construct most of your arguments based on, you know, this whole social marketing process that we talked about in the book. How long should my proposal be? Great question. I don't know, and the reason I don't know is because each of you is wrestling with slightly different issues. Some of you guys have more objectives than others. Some of you guys have behavioral objectives and knowledge objectives, for instance, and you might have longer sections. Some of you might need more background on the issue, or you might have more detail in your marketing strategy. All of this is to say that there's no one right length. I think that if you limit yourself based on the length, then you're kind of missing the point. You need to think about how well each of your individual sections are fleshed out, right? And when you feel like each section has addressed everything you needed to in a convincing way, you stop. I said I could see on the shorter side papers being between 10 pages and on the longer side like 20 pages. It also depends, and I did request that you double space your proposal and use a professional looking font, but notice I didn't specify size. I want you to be double spacing so that when I'm on Turnitin and leaving comments, I have some space to do that. But all of these things are obviously going to be affecting your length. So I'm not grading you on length, okay? That's the bottom line. I'm grading you on how accurate, you know, your discussion of these different steps are, and how well you're able to sort of integrate the lessons that you've learned to explain the different decisions you've made in your campaign. That's why in some of these worksheets I'm like, okay, now justify your decision. Justify it. I want you to be understanding why you're told to think about things in a certain way or do things in a particular order. And now I want you to kind of regurgitate that back. What else? You will see, you know, I do, like I said, have a rubric in there, and that rubric hopefully is going to save me a lot of time leaving a lot of comments on your paper. I'll probably mention this later, but just so you know, it is my hope that I can, because I've been giving more extensive feedback throughout the semester, I plan on hopefully trying to give relatively more general feedback on these longer assignments. But I don't want you to take that personally, positive or negative. It's just, I'm hoping to rely more heavily on the rubric this time, and you're more than welcome to go and see that rubric. It's posted right now on eCampus. Okay, so just the final note is, where do you submit this? You're going to go to the same folder where you find this instructional majigger. And just like we've been doing for the rest of the semester, there's a nice Turnitin portal there, and you'll upload it there. So that does it for talking about your final campaign proposal. The next step, which you're going to do hopefully right after you submit this or soon after, is you're going to do exactly what I'm doing right now. In fact, it might look just as kind of bootleg as what I'm doing right now. That's okay. I do want you to give a little pitch for your campaign. And your pitch is going to be nothing like the proposal you just turned in. And I really think that's the challenge of this assignment. Your pitch is supposed to be convincing somebody, and I call it a quick elevator speech. Like within 5 to 10 minutes, going over the highlights of your campaign. What's the problem you want to tackle? What kind of behavior are you trying to get at? Who's your audience and why? And then what are some of your marketing strategies to reach out to this audience? I don't even need you to talk about the evaluation or anything. This is a quick sell. And I'll be honest, at this point, right, I'm looking less for your integration of course material. I'm assuming all of the finer details are in that proposal. This time, I just want to get you a little practice presenting, right, this massive masterpiece that you've been working on in a really succinct, brief, but also hopefully engaging way. Engaging, by the way, does not mean that you have to have fireworks. You don't even have to have a PowerPoint presentation. If you want to have one, that's fine. I'm leaving you with as much creative license as you want for this. The only thing that I ask is that we hear your voice, right? So you don't have somebody else present it. You don't have Siri, your iPhone, your digital assistant present it for you. I want it to be you. But even if you want to cover your face with words or something, I mean, don't give us a blank screen, but whatever you're comfortable doing, whatever you think can be relatively compelling. And the idea is, another way to think about this is to give your classmates a little bit of a show and tell. Right? They don't need all of the details. They've actually seen, if you think about it throughout the semester, some of these details on the discussion board, and they're probably tired of hearing about all the finer areas of social marketing. So now is just our sort of end of the semester show and tell. And what I'd like you to do is use your webcam. I'm sorry that I can't be more specific on what that entails. It's going to be different for everyone. Some people, you might want to use your phone. You'll just prop it up and hit record and record yourself that way. Some people, like I'm using my my Mac desktop right now, and it has a built-in camera phone. But and the lab that we do experiments up in upstairs, we just have one that like clips on and hooks into our computer. Whatever you need to do to get a digital recording of yourself. You might have a digital camera that does this. Something that you can upload. And then the idea is you're going to have to upload it into YouTube. And in the instructions for your for this video, I have included a link from YouTube that has a little tutorial on the steps you need to go to. So it's kind of like this, except much more professional, where it'll walk you through the steps of how to upload a video to YouTube. You're going to need a YouTube account for this. I don't care if you delete this, when this class is over or whatever. You don't have to use your real email address or anything. It's just you got to have the YouTube account in order to upload something to YouTube. And for the record, I've mentioned it's not that I'm requiring you to use YouTube unless you know of a better way. The idea is to get a video up on the discussion board that everybody can easily access. And I know that YouTube, has a pretty good format for that. So I would just, unless you have some really good idea, plan on using YouTube. Because you're going to be responsible. If you try to do something fancy, like no protection for you. Like if I had problems with my boob tube, or like, I don't know, your generic video site that you want to use, that's fine if you want to do it, but I still want things posted at the right time. If you have problems with YouTube, I could, I guess, be a little bit more sympathetic to that because I'm forcing you to use it. But so that's my little caveat with that. I am sorry that I can't help you a lot with the camera support. This is one of those online educational experiences, like so many, where you are kind of at the mercy of your own technology and your own ability to problem solve and troubleshoot with some of this technology. But in a weird sort of way, that's it wasn't it wasn't my primary reason for making us do a video. I wanted us to at least have a little FaceTime at the end of the semester. But I would say sort of a byproduct of this assignment is it does give you a little bit of experience making your own media and making a short video that other people could consume very easily. On that note, make sure, just double check that when you upload your video to YouTube, it's checked that it's available to other people. Because if it's on a private setting, even if you even if you paste a hyperlink on the discussion board, if we click on it, we might not be able to see it. So just one little caveat there I can think of. And if I think of other stuff, you know, as we start posting them, I'll try to do it. I don't wait until the last minute to do this one. As soon as you get your proposal done, you know, trying the next day or two to go ahead and post your video. And then as soon as you can, post it on the discussion board. The week after all the videos are posted, I'm going to want you to comment on a few of your classmates' videos. And the important thing here is not that you just high five, good job, or another like sort of not pet peeve is when you just ask questions. It's like, oh, how did you do that? And I'm kind of like, well, now you're just putting the pressure back on that person. What I'm going to be looking for, and I will be grading sort of the substance of your comments to your classmates, is I want you to actually engage with them in a more critical way. I want you to make comments about their campaigns. It doesn't have to be positive. It just has to be polite. But you can be negative. You know, you can give negative feedback and be polite at the same time. Nobody likes to do that because for some reason we don't like hurting people's feelings in online classes or something. I don't get it. Wish we had a little bit more edge to our discussions. But whatever you're comfortable with. But I would now, going back to our discussion about the proposal, I want you to try to draw in some things from the course. Even if it's things that you can identify with based on your own campaign. But again, this isn't a time to just say, oh, how cute, right? I just want you to give them a little bit more substance in the feedback, something that they could learn from or take away from, something maybe that they hadn't thought about before. So that's the type of stuff I'll be looking for. I think that does it. Amazing that I still spent like 17 minutes and I'm not even talking about content, isn't it? Well, I feel less guilty this week because I didn't force you to watch this. But as always, if you have any questions, drop me an email. And I am genuinely, perhaps more so than any other time in the semester, looking forward to seeing what you guys submit and post. And so I'm looking forward to seeing you all virtually there. So good luck.